main concept of day trading attention is trying to use the concept of day trading, which is really a on the second of the day trading, buying and trading stocks, second to second, buying a stock and selling it a couple minutes later. Very different than buying a stock and selling it a year later. Day trading, trading day to day, like transacting second to second, moment to moment, and layering that on the concept of attention. So the concept of where are the eyes and ears of society? More and more TikTok and Spotify, less and less the radio in your car and network television. By creating that framework, day trading attention, I'm able to give the thesis to everyone that I'm living in, which is the people in the world who most understand where the attention of people are, AKA these 10 to 15 social networks and streaming services that are eating up a vast majority of attention, and layering the ability to be good at it, day trading, AKA how do you make ads for it or content for it, and how do you spend media to amplify it, and recognizing that it's changing day to day, week to week, month to month, so you can't just have a good strategy today and then think it's gonna work for the next year. Sets up my thesis in a real way, and more importantly, I'm not guessing. This is what I've been living for the last 15 years. This has been the landscape for the last 3 years post-COVID of every single business and person around the world, from China to Sydney to Vancouver to Brazil. And I think that people need to recognize how big the stakes are, because the ones that don't know how to day trade attention going forward will continue to lose market share. You know, it's funny, I debated calling this book Underpriced Attention, not just day trading attention, but day trading attention I think captures the macro thesis more. When you double click into it, one of my favorite things in day trading attention, actually let me rephrase, the thing that I have spent the last 15 years on every day is finding underpriced attention. Underpriced attention is exactly what it sounds like. It's you're getting more attention than the efforts you're putting in or the money you're putting in to achieve that attention against everything else you could do. So for example, always in social media, because of the way the algorithms work, there are opportunities for underpriced attention. At the moment of this recording, one of them is TikTok Live. Not posting on TikTok, but going on TikTok Live because of the way that product works, which is the longer you're on, more people discover you, which is the reverse of how Instagram works, because when you go live on Instagram, everybody who follows you is notified. They all come on, which means 5% of your audience usually, and then they start to leave because it's hard to keep people's attention forever, and there's no mechanism to share your live so easily, so you're not achieving more people. TikTok, you go on, the longer you're on, the more TikTok sees that and showing you in people's feeds, even people that don't follow you, rendering you to find new audiences. That will probably change over time. TikTok's doing that right now. Just like 5 years ago, if I made a video on Instagram that had a white border at the top and a title and a video that was under a minute, more people would see that. It was a tactic creatively that rendered the opportunity. The cost of that attention was zero in media dollars, and I kept working it to make the cost of making those videos lower and lower, hence that became underpriced attention. The organic reach of an Instagram video post under a minute. The organic reach of going live on TikTok. There are many versions of this. On LinkedIn, for high value B2B clients, the media, even though it has a set floor of how much it costs, is still an underpriced attention because the value of a B2B client is very high, and the ads on LinkedIn, if you do LinkedIn ads well, to reach a B2B client is a very good deal versus buying a $100,000 booth at a trade show and trying to get those same clients. Underpriced attention. Influencers. There are very famous influencers who would cost $100,000 to do a post for you, and you may get 1,000 customers. In that same sector, you might find an up-and-coming influencer who costs you $1,000 and gets you 1,000 customers as well, because their audience is emerging with them. They've never seen them promote an item, and thus your influencer ad with them was underpriced. Basically every single action a business does to get customers or a human does to get attention is either properly priced, overpriced, or underpriced. As you can imagine, it is my great obsession, both personally and for the clients I work with, to be great at underpriced, to stay away from overpriced, and to round out underpriced with appropriately priced. There's so many ways to attack this, and I know for a lot of you, it might even be the first time you're grasping these concepts, and I think you take a step back, and I actually think the first thing you need to do is focus on self-awareness. You know, if you don't know yourself, you're gonna probably struggle with this complex framework, meaning, how do you find underpriced attention? How do you get good at day trading? Well, you have to first decide how are you judging it. So before you see how many followers you get, or how much reach your posts get, or how many people buy your product, you have to make the leap yourself before the action. Meaning, you're gonna make the video or the picture, and then the thing's gonna happen, so you're not gonna know. Now the question becomes, do you think you're good at judging this, or are you not? If you're not, that's actually good. One of the tenets of being good at day trading attention is humility. I've been doing this my whole life, and professionally for over 20 years, and refined for 15. And yet every day when I post, even though I look at all the math, all the quant, all the qualitative feedback, every day that I post, I know that I might not be right. And many of the posts on social or the ads that I write for my businesses, whether in the wine business for my family or the businesses I work with at Vayner or for my personal brand or for VFriends and companies, many of them don't hit the mark. It's the humility to know that's okay and I can learn from it that is really the massive part of the strategy. Having the humility and the process to make as many ads, and this is not spray and pray and throw against the wall and see what sticks. This is understanding which segmentations you're gonna make content for, do the best you can, lower or mitigate the risk on the costs and the media, and then look at the outcomes and decide what to double down on or triple down on or what to eliminate. So humility is at the centerpiece of being great at day trading attention. The other thing that's at the centerpiece is creativity. Are you creative enough to have new, fresh ideas? And that's where humility comes in. Don't be scared of a wacky idea or something that's never been done before or a sentence that's never been uttered. Those may be the exact things that unlock the opportunity. And then more importantly, have you put in the hours to understand the craft? Do you understand the algorithms? Do you understand the best practices? You know, the times to post, how long should the video be, thumbnails, things that, you know, I think more and more people can look into and are realizing are more important than maybe we realized in the past. And so making a commitment to the craft, these are the real tenets to a good strategy. Once you understand them, one of the reasons I always get scared when people try to outsource their marketing or this behavior is if they themselves don't understand it, how are they gonna be able to judge their employees or their agency partners? That's why I get compelled to write books like this. I want to get people at least at a ground level of understanding because these are complex new terrains. Look, it's incredibly hard to measure success along the way when you're building brand, because that would be like you asking me or the world asking me, how do I measure if I'm a good parent? The reality is, I think we all know this, you're gonna get more insight in 25 years than you're gonna get every day. But there's gonna be proxies along the way. If a child is born and when they go to kindergarten at 6 and they punch everyone in class and they scream and run out of the classroom, something happened along the way in the first 6 years that led to that, right? If at 15, they're beloved and they have a lack of anxiety and they're smiling and they're always happy and they're beloved by everyone, I'm gonna believe that there was some good deposits put along the way for the 15 years to let that happen. When you're building something meaningful, like a brand, like a child, it's very hard to measure along the way, but there are proxies. There is things you see at 2 years old, at 4 years old, at 6 years old, at 8 years old, at 10 years old. And you're looking at your child and you're seeing how the world is accepting them and how their happiness is, how their accountability is, something we've lost along the way, you know, and other things of that nature. Same with brands. You know, when I was building my father's wine business, the way I was noticing if we were building brand was based on the fact that I had to spend less money on advertising every year but was achieving higher sales every year because after 5 or 6 years of good work, I could see that the word of mouth and the reputation, the brand, was carrying the business. And so, I think at the end of the day, you have to measure brand based on business results, but you've got to play that out for a long time. The problem is, along the way, it's very hard to fully figure it out. And so you've got to decide what your measurement sticks are. I think looking at the business's health every 3 years is very appropriate. If I came in to do full brand for any business in the world, big or small, and the boss she said to me, Gary, I'm gonna measure you on brand in one way. Is our business up in 3 years? I can handle that. Of course, anything can happen. I could be selling something and then there was a big innovation. The world might change. There's things that can happen, but usually they don't. And within that framework, if I'm getting 3 years, I feel like I can play that game. And of course, we could put reports and justifications along the way, but getting 3 to 5 years to prove it out, that's really the punchline of brand building. Just wanna add that I really believe this conversation, more than anything we might touch on, is very important and very challenging. I am not confused that people that are in Fortune 500 land are like, that's great, Gary, but if I don't hit the MMM or the MMA or the way we measure brand internally every year, I don't get my bonus, and by the second year I might get fired. Respect. I also want to tell all the entrepreneurs, the creators, the influencers, the small business owners, you're gonna have to make those judgment calls on brand building in your gut, in your subjective opinion, every 6 and 12 months. And I'm aware that many people have tried to do a brand exercise, don't see sales results right away, and never do brand exercises again. Never sponsor something again, never do a commercial again, never do social media again. I get it, but please understand the difference for all the smaller players, the difference between brand building and sales.